organizers. I want to start on all existing protocols, but I was here last year as well, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you on enterprise security risk management. So I'm a practicing CISO and also a data protection officer, so I've come to appreciate why security management needs to be part of enterprise risk management. I came in towards the end of the last speaker, but I thoroughly enjoyed what I heard. And I'll be taking a different perspective to this and probably sharing some of the experiences that we've had, particularly within the cybersecurity space. Hopefully, I won't be too cybersecurity biased, but it's probably just going to come natural to me. Okay? So, as introduced, my name is Maji Alamogu. I work with Quest Merchant Bank as the current CISO and also the data protection officer. So I'll be talking about, please, can I have my slides on? Thank you. Yeah. So repositioning enterprise security risk management for an evolving global threat landscape, a multi-stakeholder imperative. So I've broken it down this way. Next slide, please. The task here is to reposition. That's the action word here, to reposition. Now, what do we want to reposition? We want to reposition enterprise security risk management. And what is the key driver? The global threat landscape is rapidly evolving, as a lot of us in this room are aware. It's actually keeping us on our toes within the risk practitioners and security practitioners. These are things we have to deal with every day. The threat landscape is changing rapidly, okay? But we must appreciate that it's going to be a shared responsibility. It's going to be a multi-stakeholders approach that would actually pay off here. And I added, a liner there, and there's going to be holistic, business aligned. Okay, so what are we going to do? We want to try and shift security risk management thinking to enterprise security risk management thinking. Okay, and that moves me on to my next slides. So looking at enterprise, a lot of us will probably use, we are very familiar with that already. Is it possible to make it bigger a little? I'm not sure it's very, just increase the, yeah, thank you, so that other people can read it, thank you. Okay. So what I have there is enterprise risk management, which we are all very much used to. And I've worked in the financial industry for over 2 decades now, and we are very comfortable. There's a traditional setting in this, where you have the enterprise risk management, our regular risk components. We have the credit risks, the market risks, the operational risk, and we're beginning to have ESG risk, just the conventional thing. But what we're saying in this room today is there is need for security to come into this as well. And you would agree with me because digital is now driving business, okay? It's no longer, either you're doing, whatever product you're offering, maybe in the financial sector, or maybe you're a fintech, or you are just a regular company, but you are consuming these services. You could wake up one day and your account is cleaned out, okay? A lot of us have heard of the different stories that has happened, even if you're just taking this year alone, We've had a lot of instances where, I don't know how many of you have seen the NIPS reports. Over the weekend, we'll be talking about billions, missing in the banking industry, and we are wondering, how did this happen? It could be your account, it could be your bank, it could be your company, okay? So we are all stakeholders in this. So we are saying we are taking security beyond the regular enterprise risk management to enterprise security risk management. So security management is no longer for the CISOs, okay? It's no longer for the CIOs, head of ITs. It is now for it's a concern for the board. And if it's a concern for the board, it must be dealt at the enterprise level. Okay, so that's what we are trying to address, this afternoon. So we are saying enterprise risk management is an approach for identifying and mitigating risk across the organization that threatens what? Performance. Whatever the performance is it business performance, financial performance, customers, whatever, So you're trying to identify, because you can't really manage what you've not identified, okay? And even after identifying it, you have to be able to put adequate controls in place to to mitigate it. Okay. So we are saying that this definition of risk management, while it is complete, we need to bring the S into it. And I have a quote there on the screen, by Scott, and I think it's a good one that I really want to share today. He said, implementing enterprise risk management fully means shifting from a reactive mindset to a proactive opportunity culture, opportunity-aware culture. It's not just about avoiding losses. So, for risk managers, you're not trying to, some people use the word, we want to eliminate risk. We don't try to eliminate, we just try to manage the risk. We want to minimize it. Because sometimes in taking the risk, therein lies the opportunity. Imagine you're telling your enterprise, maybe you're a bank or a fintech, that, we can't do digital, we can't compete in the digital space because we are maybe risk averse. Then you are not ready for business, you are not ready to scale, because that is the norm these days. Okay, so the business are going to tell you they want to somersault, they want to fly, and you're going to be telling them how to do it safely, or how to do it securely, or how to do it with minimal risk. Okay, but we are saying that if security is not brought to the board level, where the board has adequate visibility of security and risk management, then the large concern in enterprise risk is not addressed anymore. Because if you look at credit risk, you look at operational risk, you look at market risk, even physical security risk, they are all sitting on one digital enabler or the other. I will speak about that as we move on. So we're saying that it's for us to have a proactive opportunity aware culture. Now, what is enterprise security risk management? I'm not trying to define it, but just to give a background to our discussion this afternoon. So we're saying it's a systemic approach to identifying, assessing, mitigating, and monitoring security threats. So I've underlined that, okay? While I'll be talking mostly about the soft part of the security bits, I probably won't talk about physical security much, but monitoring security threats across the organization's entire risk landscape. So we are saying that currently the traditional definition or approach to enterprise risk management is not adequately addressing security risk, okay? And I've been on the practicing side, and we've had to take a lot of dashboards, had to come up with a lot of metrics, so that at the end of the day, when we put up, like a snapshot of the risk, maybe in the bank or whatever company you're working, you're able to tell that these are actually the risks that the organization is dealing, that can either take us out of business or erode, our bottom line, okay? So we are saying enterprise security risk management takes security risks beyond the defensive measures, and is taking it toward the board visibility, okay? And how do we achieve that? There must be a unified framework that enables board-level strategic oversight, and it integrates cybersecurity, physical security, data privacy. We are all aware of all the news, what is happening in, recently, the data breaches that we heard about, some of the, critical companies that we are all aware of. I'll just say that way. Operational resilience, third-party risk management as well. So enterprise security risk management enables us to tie all this together. And what does it enable us to do? It enables us to make security top of mind, where they are actually independent, accumulated, and often visible. So it gives visibility to, it's not until there is a crisis, we are not trying to what did we miss out? I don't know how many of us are familiar with risk registers, but I've had to fill that on my professional life, and I keep asking the question, this risk register, how much of our risks does it actually capture? Okay, so we feel it daily, we feel, try to capture things happening before they crystallize to actual maybe issues or risks. But at the end of the day, are we doing enough? Are we able to actually come through to able to say, okay, these are the top risks, okay, that we are managing, and these are the things we need to do. But sometimes we just do it, as a check the box exercise, pardon me. So looking at this, moving to the next slide, please. Okay, so on this slide, I'm saying there is a need to reposition security risk management as a strategic business aligned function. Organizations face growing threats from ransomware, third-party supply chain. Okay, so I'm going to mention the case of the Sterling Bank and the remitter. How many of us heard of the incident? That's a typical supply chain incident. Okay. So from a particular company they were able to get an inroad into another one because an exposure was discovered from there. That can be avoided, okay? But what if this particular risk is not high enough for management to be aware that somebody is not paying enough attention to it? So maybe the security team, they take technical report to the board, they take technical report to management, number of vulnerabilities, you're just reporting technical things, and the board cannot even relate with it, okay? Then there's just a single incident, and you are trending all over the news, okay? And they're telling you, oh, everybody's data is somewhere, is on the web and all that. And it's so embarrassing, the reputational risk, it's just unnecessary, okay? But the flip side is, in the security world, it is not if, it is when. Okay, it is not if you would be hacked or hit, it is when. And that is why we are all now talking about operational resilience. Okay, so when it happens, how are you going to be able to bounce back? Is the incident going to take you out or not? Something that important should be on the board's agenda, don't we agree? Yeah, it should be. But it doesn't have adequate security, adequate visibility, pardon me. So that is what this is helping us to address today. So we are saying the global threat landscape is becoming increasingly complex, dynamic, and technology-driven. And cyber risk has evolved from IT issues. It's no longer about, if you set up a company now, you just buy computers and give to your staff, you are still going to be out of business. The day will come, all your data will be out. If you don't think of security, even if you're a one-man show, you have a website, you are doing something online, and you have not considered security, you are just joking. Because the tides have turned. It's now a world of the hackers, seriously, And, and it's as if we are playing catch-up, but it shouldn't be. So we're trying to make sure that security is receiving what adequate attention at the board level. So we are going to achieve this. To achieve this, it's going to require collaborative, multi-stakeholder approach across the enterprise. So if you are a CRO here, you are a chief risk officer here, you are the head of risk management here, or you are probably the chief in your company, security is your business, okay? It's not for your head of IT security, it's not for your information security, it is your business. And as we speak now, the regulators, the CBN particularly, are making it mandatory for board members, at least 2, to have IT and cybersecurity knowledge. Because you cannot claim ignorance, because it is too important to your business. So you must know about it, okay? So this is serious business. So moving on, we're saying security must shift from a reactive IT function to a proactive and enterprise-wide priorities, okay? So I just thought to bring this, so this was from the Fortinet threat landscape report for it's 2026, but because we're going to be looking at 2025. And they're saying that in 2025, cyber criminals ran at an industrial scale. There were 635 vulnerabilities that were exploited. That's based on just Fortinet's report only. And 7,831 organizations were extorted. You know what that means? Extorted means they actually got, extorted for financial gains. Automation, identity abuse, patch latency, not zero day defined impacts, okay? As AI accelerates reconnaissance, weaponization, and extortion, time to exploit is now collapsing to same day windows. You might look like I'm just reading a lot of things, but you can imagine what this does to me. So somebody finds a vulnerability, a zero vulnerability, something that nobody was aware it existed before, but was just suddenly discovered that, oh, there's this weakness in this maybe software application or whatever. Then from the moment it's announced, they begin to exploit it. You have not even had enough time to review, to take any action, to patch it, or to address it, and it's already been exploited. We saw a lot of that this year already. From the time a 0 day is announced, the exploit begins within 24 hours. And Fortinet was even saying that they actually saw that from last year coming, but we are seeing more of it now. So what we are saying now is that defense velocity is no longer a technical metric, okay? It is now a business decision. So sometimes, by the time you're still, and incidentally, the vector, or how they got into Sterling was by a vulnerability that was already announced, okay, and has not been addressed. And they are not alone in it. I can tell you categorically, it happens across almost all the banks, all the companies or whatever. Because, sometimes you're looking at the commercials, even the time to do it and all that, but the hackers are what? They have the advantage of speed. And now they are beginning to leverage what? AI. Okay, we'll get to that. So moving on, just the same thing, it's also from Fortinet. So exploits, from 0 day to exploit is down 24 hours. And we saw a 26% increase in total attack year on, and 49% of attacks abuse legitimate tools. So, it doesn't matter that you feel that, oh, the tool is legitimate, if you are using it for whatever, there is always, the way it can be exploited. So moving on to the next slide. So what approach should we take? Position security within the enterprise risk management framework. Break up the silos. Have a single front, okay? If your regulators permit it, let security report into risk function, okay? But for some regulators, they want it to even be a standalone function so that you can have direct access to the board. That's fine, but make sure that either exists or is reporting to a risk function. Now, transform security to a business capability. Don't let it be about technical tools or whatever. They are planning to roll out a platform. They are planning to expand in the market. The security should be a partner advising them on how to achieve it. Because you roll out a platform today, it's not properly secured, they are going to shut it down. Or they will help you shut it down. Okay? By the time you are losing funds, either directly from the platform or within this supply chain, you won't have any choice than to go back and go back to the drawing board. So we're also saying it should be a multi-stakeholder approach. Risk management, information security, IT, information technology, internal control, internal audit, compliance, legal, whatever department, however your organization is structured, you need to identify the key stakeholders that need to be part of making this happen. Then we are saying take a comprehensive enterprise security risk management program. Don't let it just be a one-off thing. Make sure it's a program you're running end-to-end. That's what we do for security anyway. Cybersecurity is always a program that we're running. So you're looking at from the time you have established your governance structure up to the time that you're doing your monitoring and you're reporting back to the board. It's an end-to-end approach that we take to it. Okay, so we're saying that unlike the traditional security and cybersecurity that focuses on technical controls and incident response, enterprise security risk management positions security within the enterprise risk management framework. And as a result, this elevates what? It transforms security from a tactical IT function. So it's no longer, maybe some IT guys, it's now a business concern and discussed at business levels. Next slide. So those are the core components of enterprise security risk management. And so we have the cyber security risk, physical security risk. We have the data privacy risk. Okay, we are all aware of the NDPA, the guide that has also come out, the directive on how data subjects should be managed and the right of the data subject and all the practices around data protection and all of that. Now, these are all parts, this should be part of your enterprise risk framework. Data protection, data privacy should be part of your enterprise because they have become too important. You can't just let them hide within the technical details anymore or technical metrics. And of course, the supply chain, that's your third parties, your vendors, okay? How are you onboarding them? What are they plugged into your systems? What integrations do you have? That's another key area of risk that you need to, that is part of security management. Then we have operational resilience. In the event eventually happens, are you going to bounce back or are you going to go out of business? Okay? That is yet to be seen. Despite the fact that, you're probably, what do we call it? You run drills. Okay, so you're doing drills, business continuity tests and all that. A cyber attack is a different ballgame. Okay, because it's either going to be a crisis management event for you or not. You're going to be talking to the media, you're going to be talking to your customers, you're still trying to manage reputational risk and all that. And you're still trying to probably get the hackers out of your system. Like we've seen in some instances, they're probably there and they cool off, they come back again, So it's a whole lot of moving parts. So you need to have visibility into all this. And of course, the compliance and regulatory risk. Now, the regulators are not taking a backseat on this. They are actually driving this, dictating to the respective organizations what is expected, what controls they need to have in place, and to report on these controls periodically. Now, looking at the next slide, I just thought to call this out, and that's asymmetric security threat, And why this focuses majorly on cybersecurity, but you would agree with me, there is no way this doesn't affect the entire business. Okay, ransomware as a service has now become, it has now made this sort of attack easily accessible for the hackers, and of course it's now happening at scale. Then supply chain attack, you have the AI-driven social engineering, where somebody will draft an email. Even when they show you the email, you believe you wrote it, because the person has studied how you write and all that, and they just mimic it. And somebody that normally receives an email from you receives it, and the person just acts immediately, oh, this is from my boss. We've all heard about deepfake and all that. People that have joined meetings and thought they saw their bosses, and only to find out that they were actually scammed. Okay? So these things are real. And we're saying because these things are real and it's constantly expanding, man-in-the-middle attack, DDoS attack, SQL injection, these are technical stuff. But they are now the determinant of if your business will survive or not, if you don't have the adequate controls in place. Okay? So moving on, looking at, so what do we need to do? There needs to be a paradigm shift from the traditional security approach. Okay, and this is something that we have to be deliberate about. When you get back, look at how you're managing, how your risk is being managed. Is the scope adequate? Okay, or are you just looking at the traditional risk components? Where is security management within your enterprise risk framework? Where is data privacy risk management within your enterprise framework? How are you managing third parties? Are you just creating forms? You are doing due diligence, you are checking the box? I've gone through all those motions, but when the chips are down, it can really be very, very bad. So the best thing is, make sure whatever you're designing is applicable for your organization. Make sure you understand your risk. It's not so much about what is happening in other places, but understand your own risk. What are your capabilities? What controls do you have in place? Where are the gaps? Even when there is no budget to close the gaps, it is better that the gaps are reported. They are visible. Okay, so this is talking about we are moving away from rule-based defense mechanism and measures that rely on predefined threat signatures. Yes, we are moving to behavioral pattern and all that. Okay, so we're saying that ownership from the traditional whatever is owned by security, direction is bottom up. You see a lot of IT, information security team trying to do things bottom up. But we're saying that must shift to what now? Business executive now own the risk, okay, and risk must be top-down, must take a top-down approach and must be strategically aligned, okay, value-driven and highly productive. So, for example, you want to roll out a new service, okay? We create a risk profile for it. We create threat profiles for it. What are the hackers likely to come after, with regards to this service? We have to do all of that. You do all of that and you map it to what are the controls that must be in place for this service to be rolled out. But if you are taking the traditional approach, you just say, we want to just, internet bank, you just put it out there. You have not factored in that some people are going to be after, X, ABC to put controls in place. The first day you launch it, it's going down. Okay, so you have to be able to make sure that this is a top-down approach, pardon me. Okay? So value-driven and highly proactive, and the structure must be collaborative. Multi-stakeholder approach is too important. Okay, it's too important. The risk managers, the security managers, the DPOs, compliance team. You are bringing what the regulators. So, for example, in the banking sector, you can't roll out certain platforms without meeting certain compliance requirements, okay? So, for example, the regulators expect that you should have some monitoring tools, anti-fraud monitoring tools, before you can put some digital products out there. Now, if you feel that, you have a very large risk appetite and you can just roll it out, whatever goes wrong on that platform, the customer is not liable because you have not done what the regulators ask you to do. So you must make sure that the parties that have this information are also part of designing that service. They will tell you, before you can roll out this service, you must have this control. IT is telling you, this is what we are going to do. Security would have to tell you, for you to ride on this platform, you need to have this in place. So it must be a joint effort to achieve this. Now, moving on to, so what's the framework going to look like? This is, the regular thing you do even when you're doing cybersecurity program. So you establish a governance structure and accountability. You integrate security with enterprise risk framework. You implement centralized risk data aggregation. This is too important. There are platforms now that you can plug a lot of your risk sources into. So what we are saying is that don't just focus on third parties, don't just focus on the traditional risk, also be able to focus on risks that are coming from within the security space. Even the data user, plug it into that platform, okay? Now, automation would help us, and that's why I have a comment there, under the multi-stakeholder approach, that is about the people, the processes, and the technology, okay? So the processes must intertwine in a way. Your risk management process, security management process, they must sort of intertwine. Then you must have some form of automation. Automation makes things easier, actually, away from manual effort, okay? So on this slide also, so I said develop risk-based prioritization methodologies, establish continuous monitoring and real-time reporting. That's too important. Create board reporting frameworks and conduct regular maturity assessment. So you can take this back, the beauty of a framework or a program is you adapt it to your enterprise. What is applicable for you, implement it. But go back and look at what you have in place. What visibility have you given security management? Is it adequate or not? Ask yourself now if something should go wrong with at the security level or maybe even within the data protection bit. How quickly can it get board attention or even management attention? Okay, your metrics would actually help you answer that. Okay, so what metrics are you reporting to the board? So that's one key takeaway from there. So what are the benefits of doing this? It's going to give you risk visibility, and even up to board level. You're going to be more proactive in threat identification, which is very important. Okay, the threat is the flip side of your vulnerabilities. There are some weaknesses you can live with because there's really no threat to exploit them. But in the event where you know that these weaknesses can be exploited by very readily available threats, it's in your best interest to do what? To mitigate such threats. Improve resource optimization. You're able to channel your resources into your high-risk areas. And it helps you to enhance regulatory compliance, of course. It boosts stakeholders' confidence. And it does what? It enhances resilience. Even in the event where you probably, maybe a risk crystallizes, you can bounce back quickly. That is resilience. And that is what everybody is planning for now, because the attacks would happen. That's the school of thought now. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with this, and it's just metrics that matters to the board. But really, you are going to design the one that matters for your organization. Okay, if you report into a board, it might just be maybe a management, whatever. But you need what this is trying to say is why I really need this to be here is go back and look at your metrics. Do you have a risk management committee that you report to? What metrics are you using? Is it does it adequately represent the risk that your organization faces, or you are just doing the traditional approach? What really are the risks that you face? Is security management risks adequately addressed in it? Okay, so I will leave that question, for everyone. And thank you very much for listening. I think I will call it a wrap on that note. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maji, Alamogu.